This episode of the Behind Ears podcast is not brought to you by Casey's Corn Dog Nuggets. That's right, Casey's Corn Dog Nuggets, only found at Casey's Corner. They're small, awesome little nuggets of hot dog and breadedness. It is so good. You want to get a whole bunch of them with fries. That's right, Casey's Corn Dog Nuggets. Get them with ketchup, get them with mustard, get them with cheese. Just get them. You can share, although it's going to be really hard to do so. Go ahead and get them as you wait for the fireworks show. Get them as you wait for a parade. Get them as you walk out of the park and enjoy them with a friend. Who am I kidding? Just enjoy them. That's right, Casey's Corn Dog Nuggets, available over at Casey's Corner. You're listening to the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently. The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. Expedition Roasters is the artisanal roaster of specialty Disney-inspired coffees. Why not brew some of the magic at your home? Some of our coffees include Skipper's Brew, Ghoulish Delight, Enchanted Tiki Coconut, Redhead Rum, and many other unique roasts. Our coffees are certified gluten and allergen-free and feature unique custom artwork by guest artists. Expedition Roasters offers an adventure in every bag. So start your adventure today by visiting us online at expeditionroasters.com. That's expeditionroasters.com. And Behind Ears listeners, be sure to take advantage of this exclusive offer and save 20% on your first purchase with code EARS20. That's EARS20 at expeditionroasters.com. Brew your happy place. Do you have a little one and don't want to bring your stroller from home? Have you destroyed a stroller in the past from all the wear and tear from a Disney vacation? Well, Kingdom Strollers is a great place to rent a great quality stroller at a reasonable price. Kingdom Strollers is a Disney-featured stroller provider, which means they will deliver it right to your resort, even if you're not there. Same thing for picking it up at the end of your trip. So if you're in need of an affordable stroller rental during your next Orlando trip, consider renting from a Disney-trusted stroller company. Visit kingdomstrollers.com for more information.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to a Thursday edition. It's a late Thursday of the month. No, yeah, I guess it's later in the month, right? We're at the almost tail end of the month. Thursday edition of Behind the Ears podcast as I ramble on here for a few seconds. I am Uncle Danny, the man pressing all the buttons. That is Mr. Chris. Sir, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's Thursday. As we say around here, it is Friday Eve, and it is going to be a good weekend. We're finally getting some awesome weather here in the Midwest. Actually went out for a walk during lunch today. It felt so good. Oh my gosh, it has been such a long week. I tell you, Danny, I haven't had a week like this in a long time, but you know what? What really gets me going is knowing that we've got a really epic show planned for everybody tonight. If you're watching this live and you're having issues, go ahead, go out of Facebook, come back in, give it another try. And then once you do that, share out the show. We've got such a cool, different episode planned for everybody. And so why don't we go ahead in just a second here, get right to it. But the reason why this interests me so much is because we're going to cover a topic that I don't think many, if any, podcasts really talk about in the past. And that is about something that is called cosplay. And I'm going to probably really mess up the description of what this is. But, you know, and we're going to have our guest help us, you know, educate us a little bit here. But in essence, you know, if you've seen people really take some art, effort, creativity, and basically transform themselves into some characters of their choosing, some, you know, in a real detailed manner, chances are you're in the presence of an awesome cosplayer. But I'm the kind of person that I don't do this myself, but I really I really respect it for the art that it is, and I can't wait to talk to our guest. Our guest tonight is Whitney Wickham, and she is a Disney cosplayer, and she is just, I've got a whole bunch of talent when it comes to this, and there she is. Hi, Whitney. How you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm great, guys. How are you?
Oh, we're doing really good, really good. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's this is just our crazy Thursday show. We tend to just do things a little bit differently on Thursdays because, let's face it, it's the end of the week. We really can't wait for Friday to come up. So, without me babbling, I know, too late. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll start with the first question of how exactly would you define cosplay?
Sure. Well, I'm Whitney Wickham, as you said. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. I moved from Chicagoland like a year ago. So I've been bearing the heat now for a year, and I cosplay, like you said. It's sort of an obsession of mine, and I love Disney. So it's super easy to gain 10,000 costumes. Like, I'm actually sitting in my office right now next to my cosplay closet, which has maybe 1/3 of the things that I own or I'm working on. But cosplay is such a vast definition. So let's go ahead and give you the Webster's dictionary version of it. I'm just kidding.
Sure.
Basically, cosplay comes from the words costume play put together. But there's different levels of cosplay. There's this level of like, I found something at a thrift store that I'm piecing together to make something sort of look like what I see as best I can. Or there's the costume play in the sense of I bought this from somebody or I commissioned it. And there could be different levels of quality. And then there's also cosplay in the sense of I made this and I'm going to change it or make it as screen accurate as possible, or I've come up with this elaborate mashup of different characters together or different genres together. So there's all sorts of levels of cosplay, and I, for one, appreciate every single one of them.
And that kind of fits in with kind of what I've been seeing, and I kind of have, I guess you'd say I've been kind of admiring different cosplayers' work from a distance because, as I said, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. I mean, hey, if I find a really cool hat that I like, to me, that's creative. I know I was joking around with you a couple days ago before the show. I think that if I was ever to actually, look like a character, it would have to be like Smee or LeFou or something like that, just because of my body type and stuff like that. But I know that I know I came across your work through Instagram and through some of the things that you've done there. And then most recently, I know you and I started chatting after you did something of I don't want to call it a makeup tutorial because you were just kind of showing how you were transforming into Ariel, which I was blown away by not just how long it took you to do that, but also the detail that went into that sort of thing. I was like, you've got to be kidding. And I know that you were actually in a rush at that time. If I'm not mistaken, you were trying to get somewhere, you were running late. And by the end, you did not look anything like how you look now. I mean, it was just, you were Ariel, and which I'll go ahead and say this. Ariel's my favorite princess. I am not afraid or ashamed to say that. I've always
89.
I know. I always loved the movie The Little Mermaid. Happens to be my favorite Disney princess type of movie. So yes, and I even have the one of the original movie posters sitting in the Gusman Omniplex, proudly displayed on my wall of fame. But so I'll go ahead and start off by basically saying, how did you actually get started? I mean, did you start off small, or did you basically say, hey, I've got some really great ideas and I kind of want to go for it? I mean, did you kind of build up to where you're at now, or did it just start with something very simple?
It was definitely a buildup because I grew up in the state of Montana where there's nothing to do. So my costumes came from thrift stores or my mom made them. I wasn't allowed to sew because in middle school, I literally sewed my finger. And was sent to the nurse's office. And that story's still told at East Middle School in Butte, Montana. Everybody knows about the girl that sewed her finger. Yeah, that was me.
Oh my gosh.
So the fact that I sew my own costumes now, my mom still, after so many years, is like, that doesn't look like something that you could do. Are you sure you made that? And I'm like, yes, I did. She's like, how much blood did you get on it? Well, that's the sign of a true cosplayer. You put your true blood, sweat, and tears into something. But I mean, I was the kid that went and grabbed things out of my closet, which is a thing now. It's called closet cosplay. And I would go to the store dressed as a character. And then finally my mom started making things, and then I would wear costumes, for productions, and whether it was ice skating or theater or whatever. But then when I got into college, it was sort of a necessity because we were doing these shows for the theater majors and stuff, and we were required to help out. So everybody was like, well, who has sewing experience? And I was like, don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. And then my friend sitting next to me was like, Whitney does, because she thought it'd be funny. And the next thing you know, I was working with a professional costumer who then was teaching me all these things. So I got very lucky because, she was teaching me what's a French seam, how to hem things. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this is a whole world of things I didn't know was so complicated, but cool. All right, we've got this now. And then I moved away to Germany and I came back and I was like, you know what, this seems like something that would be fun to do. And then the arrival of the princess party. So the princess party world is where cosplayers get dressed up and they go to, whether it's a private party or a charity event like what I have tomorrow night, and they donate their time for good causes, like Make-A-Wish or the American Heart Association, things like that. And I started to notice that the costumes that were available, I didn't really care for. They were low quality, or like when you're doing a lot of these events, things get dirty. Like it's inevitable. You've got kids with sticky hands, or you trip and fall like I did 3 times last weekend and get dirt all over you. So the costumes start to deteriorate. And I was like, maybe I should start making my own costumes. And I did. And then that sort of led to a spiral of, yay, tax return money is really Whitney's costume money. And here we are.
Yeah, we've never ever earmarked tax refund money for anything that would be Disney related. I mean,
never.
No, never.
So let me ask you, Whitney, on average, how many hours do you think go into one single cosplay?
Okay, well, for example, my Ray costume, the staff alone was over 250 hours to make.
Wait, 250?
250.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, that's my baby. Nobody touches that but me.
and I will admit, I showed someone of your rendition of Ray, and they're like, "Are you sure that's not Daisy Ridley?" I'm like, "No, I'm sure it's not Daisy Ridley." But it was like, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it is so accurate," and it is.
Thank you.
So you literally have 21 days into just that object. That's a lot of days.
If you did it straight.
That's fast math. You just did fast math.
I mean, and that's on top of, I don't know, taking care of a family at the same time, and
Yes, who constantly tries to destroy what I'm making. Like, hey, or let me help you. I'm actually constructing like a Rapunzel wig for a friend who does charity events back in Chicago. I donated 10 hours today just to the first half of the wig. So it takes a lot of time, but perfectionism, that's my thing. Is I strive to be a perfectionist, and I like things to look good for the people that are wearing them. So if that means tweaking it just a little bit because your face shape's a little bit different or your skin tone's a little bit different, I'm going to go that extra mile. It's not me being a purist. Hey, if you can afford, a $15 wig versus a $800 wig, by all means, it's still a cosplay, and I'm all for it.
And I think that's really interesting because, I mean, I think some people think the time, obviously time equals money in a lot of cases. I mean, there's really no way around that. But I surely would not want somebody to be discouraged from even trying something like this just because they're thinking, oh my gosh, that's just a whole lot of time. That's a whole lot of money. And I mean, I have a friend of mine that has done kind of a remix of a stormtrooper outfit that I don't know how much time and how much money he put into this thing, but it's extraordinarily epic. I mean, it is, think a stormtrooper. No. A Scottish stormtrooper.
Nice.
With like a kilt. And it is so well done. I can't describe it. I was really hoping that he would actually be online with us tonight because I would love to throw him a question on that because
I want to chime in real quick.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, because I see a lot of people want to know, and we should have asked, that's on us. Where can people find you? Where is the best place for them to go? Or just blow them all out there, whatever you got.
All over. I'm all over every social media. Just search my name. You'll find me.
Okay.
I'm so not like on the dark web. I'm just very.
So do you want everybody searching just the Whitney Wickham? Excuse me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe most of my links are on my webpage also, like my Twitch link, Twitter, Facebook. I don't have Snapchat on there, but I am on Snapchat. I only use it for the filters though, so careful.
I'm actually, well, you guys keep talking. I'm going to try something here. So please continue.
Oh, anytime Danny says I'm going to try something, it makes me wonder.
No, I do think that that's awesome though, that he's doing something like that. Like one of the next things that I'm working on actually, that I've been talking about doing for about a year, time is money, like you said.
Yeah.
I went to Goodwill and I saw these tablecloths. I have 3 of them and they're massive. Can you take a guess of who I'm making out of tablecloths?
The one guess, and that's Belle.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's
100% Belle.
Wait, oh, it's funny. Danny's got it right there in the.
Oh, there you go.
one of your Belle renditions, which I just think is just so cool because it's like, I think that dress is hard to pull off. To be honest with you,
that one is actually purchased, but I did what I like to call exploratory surgery. It arrived as a one piece and I didn't quite care for the look of it. It sort of hung there.
Okay.
So I took it apart and then put it all back together and then added a couple fleurs and flourishes and things like that. The wig is actually from World of Wigs in Los Angeles. They do an amazing job and I've had to restyle it a couple times just because that one's actually really, really old. So I might have to get a new one or I might just try my hand at restyling since that's something that has recently become a new skill. That's one thing with cosplay. Once you start, the addiction begins and suddenly you're like, oh, so that person has leather accents. I probably should learn how to leather craft. And that person has, vacuum form, whatever, like the stormtroopers. I guess I better learn how to vacuum form and 3D print and all these different things. Suddenly you've got this whole list of skills that you've learned. And when you do costume contests, if you're in some of the higher levels, they will actually ask you, like, what skills did you have prior to building this costume? And what skills did you have to learn in order to complete this costume?
Oh, okay. So now that's an aspect that I would not have even thought of in the sense of if you do it competitively and do you do competitive cosplay often?
I used to. When I moved to Scottsdale, I was highly pregnant. So my little one is going to be a year here in June. So I went to the Comic-Con here like 3 days after we moved and went in a costume that I went as Rarity from My Little Pony, just because it was comfortable and easy to do. But this year I actually I'm in the costume contest for Phoenix Comic Fest and it's a super secret costume. But what I will say is it combines the first Disney princess with Star Wars. So I'm super excited to finish that.
Okay. That I'm picking up what you're putting down. Down. I like that. I mean, that.
There's a really special princess in Star Wars that I can think of who's very, very much a princess in many, many aspects.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It'll be fun to channel that through our first princess.
You see, I think that is something that I'd like to cover here for a second because you have certain characters that are obviously I'll say more purist type, such as like the pictures of Belle that Danny was showing up on the screen, which is just absolutely stunning. And then you have the mashups. And I think that is where I know I would get lost in it because, again, I'm not creative. I mean, if I wanted to dress up as a male character within the Disney realm, oh my gosh, that is such an adorable picture.
Thank you. I couldn't resist. I was like, what's he going to be this year? This year we're doing Snow White and Dopey because he'll be walking. So it kind of makes sense. And he likes to do this. So.
Oh, there you go. Absolutely. But, I could probably play a male character of some sort, but then at the same time, if I wanted to mash it up with, two different types of characters, or I'll say two different types of genres, I think that's where the creativity comes to mind. And I'm sure that, you have an idea and you say that, there's a lot of time that goes into it. I'm pretty sure that you're going to say yes to this, but I'm assuming you've had to do a lot of trial and error just to get anywhere close to some of the mashups that you have done in the past.
Sometimes you get to a point where you're like, oh, this is going to work. This is going to be flawless. It's going to be amazing. Ray is on 3.0. So those first pictures that I took, that was Ray 1.0, and I can point out 10 million things that are wrong with them. And I love the photos, and I'm just like, I'm looking at the pictures going, oh, they're such good pictures. I just wish that I had blank right. And then there's things that just absolutely go wrong, 100% go wrong. I tried to construct a dragon puppet once in a 24-hour period. That was a disaster. I think the remnants are still in my garage, and I'm just going to bury it like it never existed. I tried to construct a foam BB-8. This, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought if I could take a foam ball,
okay,
and then like another half foam, like the craft foam,
like the styrofoam or the squish, the kind of the semi squishy ones. Yeah.
Yes. If I could do that and place two of them together and put an RC racer on the inside, Jimmy rig it with some erector set pieces with large magnets on it, and then a magnet on top, I could make a BB-8 that actually functioned and moved. It was good in theory. Wow. It did not work.
But here's
I tried to do that in 48 hours, and I finally threw in the towel. I'm not much for giving up on that one. I was just like, yeah, $90 sunk into something. It's not happening.
Now, that just kind of goes to show that it's not just about a costume, but the props.
Yes.
Okay. So, and it sounds like, just from what you described there, it definitely takes the mind of an Imagineer almost in order to think of how can I do this? What kind of things can I use in order to, make something happen out of this? And yeah, you know what the thing is, while you said it was a total complete disaster and you abandoned the idea, the fact is, I'm sure something like that will be used, or I should say the skills that you learned from even something that you didn't end up using, you'll end up using elsewhere. Which I'm like, that's just to think about doing something like that. It's like, hey, hold my drink and watch this.
And it's like what not to do too. Like I know now that an RC racer is not the best idea. It burns the inside of the foam, just for all of you who are wondering why it didn't work.
Burns the inside of the foam. Okay.
Yes. So it kind of catches on fire in a way, So you do the best that you can. What I would suggest to anybody starting out is, by all means, take your ideas and go with them as best you can. But in all honesty, don't try to push it, because if something doesn't work, it doesn't work, and don't be mad about that. You take your wins and you go, woohoo, I did something great. And you take your losses and you move on to the next project and you go, what can I learn from what I didn't succeed at and what I did succeed at? So
who would you probably say I'm going to say this in two ways. Who is your favorite character to play? And what would you say is your favorite character that you have actually created the outfit yourself?
Well, that one's a double-edged sword, because my My favorite one that I made and play is definitely Ray. I mean, she's my absolute favorite. But as far as like the princesses go, my favorite that I made is Elsa.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite to play is Belle.
Any particular reason why those came to as your favorites?
Elsa's a rock star. Everyone loves Elsa. She's like the kids will run up to, I mean, they shove other characters out of the way. I've had kids shove Anna out of the way. Like, hi, Anna, nice to see you. Where's Elsa? Elsa! They freak out. So you walk out of every event knowing 100% without a doubt you made kids' day. Belle, she's actually been such a huge influence on my life. She's the reason I studied French. She's the reason why I moved to France. I know that's weird to say because she's a cartoon, but I identified with her from a very, very young age. And I just loved what she was about. She was about woman empowerment before woman empowerment became like this on every street corner sort of thing. But she was woman empowerment in a way that was classy and not brass, but more about equality, like treat each other in a way that's meaningfully respectful.
Yeah.
And I admired that about her. And so I love being able to go and play her because she's got these moments of excitement, but then she also pulls back and has these demure moments as well. So she's a classy girl. So I like that about her. But lately I've been really into Ariel, and maybe that's just because I've been playing her a lot. I've been getting a lot of requests for her. And she's also very sporadically excited. You know, oh my gosh, is that a dinglehopper? You know?
You do that voice so well. Oh my God.
Thank you. My sister gets really mad because she's like, you can do like all the voices.
do you okay, so I have to ask with that, do you practice voices? Do you practice particular lines? Like watch the movies over and over and over again, try to get the same timbre in your voice, etc.?
I do, absolutely. Like when I had to be Snow White a couple weeks ago, I sat around and I was like, oh, my absolute favorite thing to do is make gooseberry pie. Do you like gooseberry pie? Oh, it's my absolute favorite. I had 6 pieces at Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh my, that's fabulous. I mean,
Game recognized game. I like it.
wow.
Okay. I can't do any voices.
No, I've tried. It just, you know, the word... The only voice I could really do is like Al Bundy, but that's about it. You know, really, and believe me, and there's, I'll hate to admit it, back in the early days of the show, yes, I tried to do particular voices of particular characters, and they're no longer available for download. So that
Remitted.
There's a hidden reason why we switched podcast providers, but that's not it. So, okay. First off, I think that is absolutely amazing in the sense of, you know, the Disney influence that you had on your life and stuff like that. And the interesting part to it is that, you know, we tend not to think about how Disney has a real influence in our life outside of, ooh, I want to go to the parks. I want to go and do different things. I want a vacation at Disney. The interesting part to it is that it can be inspiring, and it can be, you know, something that really not takes over your life in a, I'll say, I want to say unhealthy. That's not really what I want to talk about. In an obsessive sort of way. It doesn't do that. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. But it's more of, there are things that Disney does that inspires all of us for many different reasons. And it comes at the most interesting times. I mean, you never know when a character or a movie or even an experience at Disney can do that sort of influence. You and I were talking right before the show about, you know, a little bit about Disney as a company and how they have set particular standards and, you know, for how they do business. And it just seems like the more you get into it, the more that it really can take what you know and take it to the next level if you just apply a few small, I'll say, creative touches. And I think that it's just so cool that you got inspired by something of that sense to study it, or to study some of those influences, to study French. And how long did you stay over in France for that sort of thing?
I was there for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And I wanted to live there because of her. I mean, I wanted to live in Provence and do all the things that she did, which sounds psychotic because it's like I'm never going to find an enchanted castle with a bunch of enchanted objects. That's just not going to happen. But what I do think is very interesting that you said is that Disney has this way of inspiring. And I think the thing that really drew me towards Disney cosplay in particular was watching what happens with these kids, because kids are so impressionable, but they're also very honest. And they will tell you flat out, these are the things that I like. These are the things that I don't like. And I don't like the fact that Prince Hans was mean and that he lied to you, Anna, and it was just not nice. And they're very candid about that. And I've actually seen the magic of Disney work in the hearts of kids that are battling cancer, that have been bullied at school. Now I'm starting to get emotional because I've seen these kids literally turn their life around because they had the opportunity to meet a character. I've met even teenagers, which I know this is kind of weird to say because at some point that barrier between reality and fantasy should sort of break down.
Right.
But for us big kids, that doesn't happen. So I've talked to kids that are, 14, 15, 16 years old that have talked to me about some very serious problems, saying that I didn't want to live anymore, but I knew I was coming to meet this character, or I was coming to this convention to meet Elsa or Belle or whomever it was that they had seen, on social media pages from myself or other cosplayers.
Right.
And they go, I'm so glad that I didn't make that choice. And that's the power of Disney. It's not the cosplayer necessarily. The cosplayer helps bring that to fruition. They deliver that magic gift of here, now you have this opportunity to meet the character in person, which is why I strive to be accurate in voice, timbre, wording that I use, movements, and the entire getup, because I know that these kids are that impressionable. But I've seen that work for other people and other cosplayers as well.
I'm actually, and I think those watching and listening will agree to this. I'm actually speechless when it comes to that. I mean, wow. And I mean, because it's I would have never have guessed it. And I say that with the utmost sincerity, no joking aside. Yes, the serious side of Mr. Chris. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that to have that kind of impact on people, to be able to bring a character to life and to bring the mannerisms of a character to life and have it impact different generations. I would have never have guessed it, Whitney. I really, seriously, I wouldn't have sit here. Little kids, okay, fine. That's very, very plausible. I think we see things like that on occasion. It's not one of those things that I think we see all the time, but it's something we hear about, those types of stories. But for an older generation, for lack of a way of putting it, a generation above, or a half a generation above, those who are teenagers, to really see that, I mean, you are a Disney influencer, and those who practice this craft have a great power, so to speak, to be able to really take advantage of that. They may not necessarily know, and to give hope to people that of all ages, because of that character and the words of hope that you provide as that character. You give of yourself, even though you may be using a different voice, and that is really inspiring. I have really at a loss for words, Danny, over that sort of thing. I mean, you and I sit here and talk in front of microphones a couple times a week, and we know that we've made friends and extended family through our community, but that takes the cake.
Oh, yeah, that's an impact. That's you're leaving a, we always joke we leave a virtual footprint, because we have words, we've got mics, we can get it out there, but to actually brighten up somebody's day is astonishing. And we can all sit here, like, even how we can all joke. Listen, I have a Buzz Lightyear tattoo. I love Buzz Lightyear. Like, I'm obsessed with the thing. But
it's an awesome tattoo.
To actually move to a different country, that just goes to show you that it doesn't matter the age that you are, Disney's impact on people, whether people want to look at it and say, oh, that's silly, or whatever the case is, you just broaden your horizon. You just experienced something that 99% of the people in the world don't get to experience. You went outside of a comfort zone to chase a dream because Disney led you there. And you're kind of doing the same thing by showing people that there's hope, even if they don't have the money or the talent or the time to invest 250 hours into something. You're going to show that, hey, it's possible. Anybody could do it.
Absolutely. Anybody can do it. I mean, like I said, tablecloths, they cost me $5, and the ability to sew. And I'm sorry, but YouTube University is an amazing tool. I mean, you want to learn anything, it's on YouTube.
I could build a house at this point.
You could. It's insane what you can learn on YouTube. So, I mean, there's tutorials on how to build all of these things that you see people buying. And again, like I said, so what? Let's say maybe you don't have the funds to build a ball gown right now. Find something in your closet that emulates that character and live that part of who they are and who you are. The best type of characters to play are the ones that you can see part of yourself in. And maybe that's me, the actress, talking. But if you can connect with that character on another level in some way, you yourself are going to get lost in it. You're just going to have so much fun playing that character, even if it's like an evil one, like Maleficent or Kylo Ren or whomever it is. Like, it's fun to play the villains too. I think some of the funnest characters to play are the villains. Too. They do. I mean, Anastasia and Drusilla are probably the funnest characters to play. 100%.
I have to laugh because I actually just thought, when you said villains, I'm like, for some reason I thought of those two. And they're usually done so well because you could do them over the top and everybody would just go gaga over it, just because you can really put the ugly on those two and not have any problem whatsoever, and people just love it.
And yeah, unibrow, whatever. I mean, like, and that's the whole thing. I think too, with the cosplay thing, it's branched out into more than just conventions too. There's meetups kind of all over the place. As far as like Star Wars cosplay goes, please, if you're interested in Star Wars cosplay, get on the 501st forum, get on the Rebel Legion forum. We will help you. We will teach you what you need to know in order to make your costume approvable, because some of these clubs, there is a standard of what is required and you can purchase it or make it yourself. It doesn't matter. But there's some standard on as far as some of the club membership goes, but we are accepting of everybody. Like, we want you as part of our community. Like, that's the whole point. We want you to be part of this.
Chris, wasn't the 501 at the Indie Disney meet last year?
Yes.
Okay. Because when I started seeing the Rey cosplay, I was like, man, we should get her in touch with those guys that came to Indie Disney meet, because they were killing it. They had like R2D2s built and like they were rolling around. I was like, these dudes are on point.
That's the R2D2 Builders Club. Actually, that's a whole separate club. That's a Droid Builders Club. Ooh. And then there's the BB-8 Builders Club. So everything's separate but together, if that makes sense.
No, so absolutely.
We all troop together and have a blast doing that. We have like forums where we get on and check and see what events are coming up and stuff. But yeah, people put a lot of time and effort into these things to be pristine, and maybe there's some obsessive compulsive disorder in all of us that sort of comes out. I don't know, but we want everybody to be part of this, and we want you all to feel welcome. And those of you, those cosplayers out there that purposefully put down, because this does happen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There is some nastiness that happens in the cosplay world, and it's not for everybody, but shrug it off, because those of us that matter, we want you here.
You know what?
But what?
Go ahead, Danny.
That goes in every walk of life. I mean, listen, where we don't ever bash anybody. We'll be like, hey, listen, we'll read an article and say, who we're talking about. We don't have to go out and say, listen, the Behind the Ears podcast, we have people who don't like us. We have people who badmouth us. It's part of the game. And I think the problem is people want instant gratification. They see you, they see your likes on Instagram, and then they do something similar, and they're like, well, I did it better. Why didn't I get the likes? People look at our show and they see our numbers and they're like, wait a minute, I do it better. Why do they get more followers? Why do more people talk about them on different forums? It's part of the game. This day and age, people, it's not even keeping up with the Joneses anymore. It's, I want to be instantly better than the Joneses. And it's, you got to put time into it. You didn't just turn around. I mean, you're talking about 250 hours in the one item.
That was half of an item.
Half of an item. So, it's just like me and Chris, we've been doing it for 2+ years. It doesn't happen overnight. And people with this day and age in social media, and I could see where the nastiness would come out because, people don't understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. Now, we do have a question, and It was actually an interesting question. Is there any licensing infringements to worry about when cosplaying, making the characters, pictures, anything like that?
Great question. Here's where Disney stands on all of this. They are fine with everything that you do. They love Disney cosplay. They have their own convention called D23 with a mousquerade, as they call it. A masquerade. I'm sorry, not mousquerade. It's not mooses walking across the stage. It's a masquerade. And it's a legit costume contest. So they want to see your cosplays. They do. Where they have problems with it is when you start to use their likeness and get their characters to gain money from them. The other thing that I would say about Disney is that they are more lenient on people who uphold their standards. So if you do a good job with what you're doing, they're going to be less likely to be angry with you. Yeah. If you slap, I don't know, a bad makeup job on a pig and then try to sell that off as, I don't know, Rapunzel, then yeah, they're going to get mad about that. There's also spoof is another thing that they're, there's lines. There's always lines. Disney could at any point shut everything down and say, we're not doing this anymore. We're not accepting it. We made the character as it is, because they do own the rights to the way the character looks.
Sure.
The tip that I can give is that if you are attempting to sell photo prints of a specific character, you notice that the prints that I have for sale and stuff are not 100% correct in the way that the character looks. And that's for a reason, because then that's sort of avoidant of copyright infringement. But on the other hand, too, it's like there's certain laws that they could, say that, no, it's, if you can look at the person and say, oh, well, that person's this, then you look enough like it that it's an issue. So yes, there's problems with it, but do a good job and then they won't be so angry.
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem is Disney can afford the lawyers. We can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes with everything. I mean, it goes for any studio, not just Disney or Marvel Studios. It's any company at any point could slap you with a fine if they've got the money to, fight you in court. If you don't have that money, you're going to get a C&D, which is short for cease and desist. So I try to do a lot more charity events than I do anything else, just because I'm not getting paid to do the charity events, and it makes me feel good too. The biggest tip that I would say, you kind of touched on this, about like time and effort. The thing that I would say to anybody, why maybe they think that somebody else is doing better in any field, not just cosplay, than somebody else, is.
Oh no.
Whitney?
Hold on a second. I'm going to bump her down for a second. Okay.
Try it again.
So I don't think, let's see if she could bring her back up, because we didn't hear what she just said there.
It was like,
No. We can you hear us? I don't think she can hear us.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to bump her back down. We're going to try to figure that out. It's we're at the end of the show here anyway. Well,
you go ahead. I'm going to try to give her some instructions.
Okay. The crazy thing here is why people got to put other people down. Listen, I know this young lady who's from my local area, and she dresses up as Ariel. Does she do the best job? No. But why do you got to be mean about it? Listen, this girl may not look anything like Ariel, but I give her so much credit because at the end of the day, she has her fin thing on. What would that be called? Because it's just a fin.
Thin.
Like a fin for Ariel,
fin.
like her fin. Yes,
I
fin.
thought you said fin, THIN.
No.
A fin? What
This
the heck?
girl wears her fin, all dressed up as Ariel, goes to the local YMCA with kids, and goes swimming with the costume on.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is effort.
That's awesome. That is all sorts of awesome.
Let's bring her back in. Let's see if we can get this working. Okay, I think that's going to be better.
There we go.
Yay.
So just as I'm giving my inspirational speech, I get booted out. It was villain-esque stuff.
Listen, I mean, it's one of those cases where it was like, right. It was kind of like, and the secret recipe is.
That's because I'm not going to tell you. No, I'm just kidding. No, really. The secret recipe is who are you inspiring? Because if you're in it to inspire yourself, people are going to smell that from a mile away. I mean, they notice that right away. Go what other influencers are posting. I try to post things that are inspiring other people. Today's whole thing was what makes you happy. You know, talk to other people. People want to be inspired by you. So give them that opportunity. Disney inspires us. So let's take that gift that they gave us of them inspiring us and pass that on to the next person. And that will make all the difference in the world. It really will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just something that we can all take out of this whole conversation. I mean, do what you love what you do, inspire to inspire. And, you know, the thing is, I think that if we all try to do that, and I know this sounds like I'm oversimplifying it over the whole conversation, but, you know, I think we all can really make a difference just through some kind words and, you know, just realizing that, hey, some people need it. And if you don't take the time to try to build somebody up that needs it, don't say anything. I mean, it would be better for you to turn around and walk away than to tear somebody down or anything else like that. And it's sad that we've got people in this world of all different types of life that, you know, they do that sort of thing. But you know what? We're not going to talk about them.
They got to throw stones when they live in a glass house, because at the end of the day, people, we all have what someone may conceive as an odd infatuation with something. You know, whether I just heard a comedian joking the other day, and it's the most realistic thing you could ever say. Guy was 30 years old. I'm going to try not to copyright his stuff right here. So 30-year-old guy.
We can't afford the lawyer, Danny.
Yeah.
I'll represent myself. You can't handle the truth.
Famous last words.
So he's a 30-year-old guy. He's a single man, and he plays video games. His friend's wife sits there and makes fun of him on a daily basis because when are you going to grow up? You're a 30-year-old man playing video games. But meanwhile, she sits there and downloads Desperate Housewives on TV. Everybody's got their guilty pleasure. Whether you want to dress up as Snow White, whether you want to spend 2 hours behind a mic talking about casting, Disney, whether you want to play a video game or go watch your favorite football team, at the end of the day, Trisha says it's best. People are uncomfortable with what they don't understand.
My only suggestion is don't wear a costume to work. Even if it's a good one. Don't wear a costume to work. That is definitely frowned upon. Try to keep your professional life separate from your cosplay life. That's just I didn't do that. I had a friend do that. Okay, and I'm dead serious. I'm not saying that as a joke. It really was a friend who did that. Awesome. This is my job, so yeah, I'm lucky that way. But I just think though the best words that you can live by is Cinderella 2012. Have courage and be kind. Yeah. You know, just have courage and be kind.
So why don't you go ahead and, because I mean, I don't really see a better way to end something than with a fantastic interview and then having that awesome line at the end. So why don't you go ahead and just literally plug everything? If you have any upcoming events in your area, I mean, we've got listeners all over the country, literally in almost every continent at this point. So please plug away.
Oh, well, thank you. I will be at Phoenix Comic Fest I will post my lineup. I haven't quite finished that yet. I know that I'll be doing some Disney cosplay and some Overwatch cosplay. So yeah, that'll be fun. And let's see what else. Oh, I have a movie coming out on the 4th. And I almost forgot.
Oh, but we didn't forget because we're going to be talking.
I literally almost forgot. I was like, wait, there's something else big going on. What is it? Oh, yes. Star Wars Scoundrels, A Smuggler's Tale is coming out on the 4th, May the 4th.
And we happen to be director of the next Thursday. I've been teasing everybody, and I thought to myself, I can't give every news, but we are going to be talking about that. That is a special event for next Thursday. Because we have to a couple of the people involved with that movie next week, and that is going to be epic because I'm just like.
What I can say, I can't tell you much about it. It's completely original characters, original storyline. It does fall into the Star Wars universe. If you love Star Wars, you will love this movie. It's done at super high quality. I saw bits and pieces. I'm telling you, even without, it was so good. I was through the rest of the talking. Stooped me out of.
I don't know. I seen your. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination. I was like, I like that.
Here's the thing. I had friends like tagging me in his casting every single day, like sending him my photo. And he was like, yes, this girl. But I had already told him, I was like, look, I'm 7 months pregnant. I can't shoot this film. I'm so sorry. And he's like, but you'd be so good. And I'm like, I know. So he had to move the filming back. And I was moving to Phoenix the next day, and he asked me, could you please come up and do an audition? I mean, we were literally loading up our truck to move. I drive up with him, and if I get the role, I don't care. We have to find a winner. And that's exactly what happened. He did me to do it, and like all the crazy things that end in process, but I'm telling you, this was with us because